Hi, did you hear what my thoughts are today? Which actually will be two thoughts for today. The main one will be, well, you may have heard that the governor of California, Newsom, is suing Donald Trump for federalizing and sending the National Guard into Los Angeles to quell the riots, the anti-ICE riots. And my main thought will be well, they're saying that, or California is saying that what Trump did was illegal and unconstitutional and wrong on both counts. And I'm going to show you the actual code section, the actual law, legislation that specifically authorizes Donald Trump, the president, to do what he did. This is actually Title 10. That's the overriding title, and it's Section 12406. National Guard in Federal Service. Call whenever 1. The United States or any of the Commonwealths or possessions is invaded or is in danger of invasion by a foreign nation. 2. There is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. Or 3, the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. The president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. Order for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of the states, or in the case of the District of Columbia, through the commanding general of the National Guard of the District of Columbia. So there you have it. Now, maybe, well, I guess it could be a small question. What if the section says that the order has to be issued through the governor, but what if the governor doesn't want to issue the order? Then maybe there's a question there. But I think the president would prevail on that question, and maybe it's through the governor. It doesn't say by the governor, actually. It's through the governor. So I think it's the president issuing the order, and it's through the government. So absolutely he can do it. And because you look, actually, there's two of those clauses there that I think help him, especially number 3, because clearly the ability of these ICE officers to execute their lawful duties is being threatened, impeded by these rioters. And the president clearly has the authority to do whatever he has to do, bring in the National Guard to allow the ICE agents to do their work and to protect federal property, federal buildings. And this is because one of these idiots on The View, that TV show, The Video, these liberal women and one Republican who's actually, for all practical purposes, another Democrat. But somebody, actually, I think it was Whoopi Goldberg saying, well, what about states' rights? Well, we're not talking about state rights. We're talking about federal government rights. They have rights too, and the federal government's rights, the Trump, no pun intended, the states' rights. And as we learned in the Civil War. But getting back to today very quickly, he has the authority to do that, but also rebellion against. Now, you saw that clause too. Doesn't have to be an actual rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, but just the danger of one. And I think you legitimately could call this at least the danger of rebellion. They're rebelling against the government's authority. I mean, I think the number 1 invasion obviously doesn't imply. And this gets to my problem with Trump, because, as I said, he sometimes is his worst enemy, because all he had to do in this press conference that he just held was to cite that section. Here is section 240, what is it, 12406. Just cite that section and just read the section. Here is my specific authority given to me by the federal government, that I can do this. But he doesn't do that. He talks about insurrections. He talks about, well, Minnesota, if I saw the riot, when I was all the rioting going on in Minnesota, and I did nothing, I'm not going to make that mistake again. That's Black Lives Matter riots. But he couldn't, because there was no, unless a federal building was being threatened or federal officers. But even then, his powers would be limited only to protecting federal property and protecting federal officers and enabling federal officers to do their duty, or to enforce federal law, which brings us to the only Alabama, 1965, Lyndon Johnson sent in federalized the National Guard, sent them into Alabama. Why? To enforce the federal civil rights laws, that because of what was being done to black people at the time. I hope you won't mind me mentioning, by Democrats. By all those states were governed by Democrats. Alabama was, for sure, governed by a Democrat. I believe George Wallace was still the governor of Alabama at the time, but I can be corrected on that. But that's the only instance I can think of. There might be another one that's slipping my mind, but those are the rare exceptions now, where the president clearly has authority to do it. That's a problem. That's one of the things you should say. Well, I'm sending the National Guard. This is what he's, Democrats, you got what you voted for, and you can burn Los Angeles to the ground. And I don't want you to, but you could burn every building to the ground. You could assault police officers. I cannot do anything without the governor's specific request to send in the National Guard. I can do nothing, but I can and will protect federal property and protect federal officers, ICE agents, in the lawful performance of their lawful duties. So I guess he could say that, and he could even, be a little snarky and say, Democrats, well, I have good news for you. You can burn your own cities, elect all your blue governors and mayors, and burn your cities to the ground. Go for it. I can't. Well, don't go for it. I don't want you to go for it, but you could, and I absolutely could do nothing about it without a request. And because that's what happened before in Minnesota. Trump repeatedly urged the governor to Tim Walz, to request the National Guard, and he wouldn't do it. Maybe it got, I don't remember specifically, maybe it got so bad that he eventually did do it, but definitely at the outset and for quite a while, he would not do it, just as you see what's happening in California. And that the minute Governor Newsom saw what was happening and that the local law enforcement could not cope with it, I mean, these burning of businesses, burning of cars, including police cars, why would this was so? I cannot understand these blue state governors and mayors. Why would you not call in request the National Guard? And I think it's because, if Trump is for it, they're against it. It's like the Marx Brothers. I forget which movie it was, but whatever it is, a song he sings, whatever it is, I'm against it. I don't care who began or commenced it, I'm against it. And that's where they are. That's their mindset these days. And so what I worry about Trump is California is suing Trump over this and claiming it's an unlawful order. And if he does that under the Insurrection Act, because you have to remember, we're talking about we have 700 judges, and a lot of these are Biden and Obama appointees, and they are activist judges. And somebody could say, well, he can't do that under the Insurrection Act, and the judge would rule against Trump and could win. Trump could lose the case, and that's you don't have to appeal all the way up to the Supreme Court, and hopefully, or the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, whoever argues before the court, the federal court, would say, well, Section 302, Title 10, Section 12406 gives the president the authority to do this, and the lawyers, California's Attorney General would say, well, he didn't. He cited the Insurrection Act. Trump, here he is on tape multiple times, never cited Title 10, Section 12406 as his grounds for sending in the National Guard. And an activist judge, I could see an activist judge ruling against him. Now, what would happen then? Trump could still send in, he would have to do it all over again or the next time and cite this section 12406 of Title 10. He would have to do that, but he would have to start all over, number one. And well, you have all these appeals up to the Supreme Court because you have all these activist judges and activist lawyers trying to impede Trump, no matter what he does. That is what is so frustrating, that I can't understand why. Well, actually, I read one article, and this is really rank speculation, but of California going red because of all these riots and the Los Angeles fires, where the mayor and the governor did absolutely nothing. And Trump, as he is cited reminded everybody in these in the press conference, the question Q&As that he just did, that the reason those fires were so out of control, a couple of reasons. Number one, they wouldn't do clear cutting, but number two, there was no water because the governor, the California government cut off water to those parts of California in order to save a little Delta River smelt. It's about this big, and that was going. I read another article that a science article or whatever, that they're already beyond saving. They're going extinct. They can't be saved. So Trump was able to legally direct the water, stop that nonsense, and direct the water to L.A. Never mind how much it was hurting the farmers. So you would think that, plus what happened in the L.A. fires and what we're just seeing now with all these riots, that, well, put it this way, California should go red, and if not, at least the Republicans should pick up seats in their state legislatures, their House and their Senate, and possibly elect a governor, a Republican governor. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. But well, I guess that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. As always, your comments are welcome in the comment section below the video. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.